There have been psychologists who've done empirical investigations into what predicts the longevity of a relationship. And so here's one experiment that was conducted multiple times, and I believe this is very reliable data. So imagine you have the two partners in a marriage, each rate the number of encounters they have with their other partner a day. And it's kind of an arbitrary and subjective measure, but it doesn't matter. You might say, well, I talked to my wife 8 times today. We had 8 different interactions. And then you'd say, well, did you rate those for whether they're positive or negative? And then you can calculate a ratio of positive to negative. And then you can use the ratio to predict the longevity of the relationship. And the data show that if the relationship interactions fall below 5 positive to 1 negative, then the relationship deteriorates and is generally doomed. And so 5 to 1, that's preponderance of positive interaction, but we're wired so that negative interactions hurt us more than positive interactions help us if they are of the same magnitude. So it's better to err on the side of conservatism in the domain of negative emotion. But interestingly enough, if the interactions rise so that they exceed 11 positive to 1 negative, the relationship also deteriorates. And so what that suggests is that there's it's sort of like smiles with teeth. You want a fair bit of positive emotion and reflection from your partner, but you don't want them to be a naive, dependent pushover who's afraid to stand up for themselves. And so you want to, because you're a nasty, horrible human being, and now and then you poke your partner just to see if there's anything there, because that's what you're like. And if you find out there isn't, you'll run roughshod over them, and you think you won't, but you will, especially if they're very good at implicitly encouraging that, which dependent people sometimes are. So you do assess for reciprocity, and the basic rule is you want approximately equal reciprocity in relationships that you want to maintain.
The nastiest situation happen not among enemies, but among the so-called loved ones. Love means you're willing to nurture another life without forming opinions. It should be a relationship of nurture, not opinionated.
We often think is that once we commit your mind, and the long series of songs and poetries and proverbs that have fed a kind of romantic possessiveness have often led us astray. The verb for love is to have. The verb for desire is to want. And to want requires us sometimes to have a little bit of a psychological distance, a sense of otherness, a bridge to cross, something or someone to visit on the other side, so that in between me and you lies this tension called the erotic élan.
I love the analogy of tennis, where it's like you got a choice. Are you on the opposite side of the court and we're hitting the ball back and forward, but ultimately one of you has to win? Or are you next to me and we're teammates, and if I miss the ball, you got my back, and if I miss the ball, I got your back. And we are both playing to win the same game and the same thing together. And at the end of the day, we're both standing on the podium together, holding that cup together. I've chosen a game of doubles. Okay, so if I've chosen a game of doubles, what does that look like? If you want someone, which I do, to be there when you're weak, you have to be honest about where you're weak. If you want somebody to help you on a journey, because to me, it is the partnership.
It's easy for people to think that they're better than they are. I probably want to think that about me. So then you'll get angry about something. You know, maybe your partner puts you down in public, doesn't show you the respect. Maybe you're married, say, and husband and wife owe each other a certain amount of categorical respect. Maybe you've taken a shot in public and you're really angry about it, but you don't notice it because you want to think that you're better than you are. That sort of thing doesn't upset you. And so you don't say anything about it, you don't do anything about it, and then you don't fix it. And that's a mistake. It's much better you could say to your partner, look, you know, we were out for dinner tonight and you said something snarky, which I didn't think was appropriate. Now, I might be hypersensitive and touchy and immature, and maybe you hit me in a weak spot, or maybe you're playing some power game. Why don't we figure that out? Now, that's messy. People don't like conversations like that, but I won't let those things go.
It's really you. What happens is our partners just become a mirror of some aspects of ourselves that we don't usually see.
And it's really not so much about the love that you want to get. It's really about us becoming and embodying fully the love that we are. It isn't an outside-in game, it's an inside-out game.
But this requires courage, and the gift of my life with this woman beside me is I don't know a person who's had more courage, more love, more determination, more faith, and that's what it takes. But the wild ride has been worth it at every possible level, and every challenge we face, because you're all having challenges if you're in a relationship. And somehow we seem to think that we shouldn't have problems, and I think the only problem you have is you think you're not supposed to have any.
one thing that people really have to understand is this idea of you've got to want the other person to win. Like all of this stuff only works if you are just filling your heart with, I want this person to win. I want to navigate this in a way where I'm not trying to win the argument. I'm trying to I want them to win at life. I want them to feel elevated. I want them to feel better about themselves when they're around me than when they're not. I want to elevate this marriage. And by always focusing on elevating each other, by focusing on recognizing that you're only going to be able to elevate each other in the marriage if you're honest. And being willing to push through that because I want us to win. I don't want there to be dust that settles. I want to get really to the truth. And sometimes that means that you have to own something that's really hard.
One gift you want to give in any relationship is stop questioning the intent. Divorce the story of they're a bad person and marry the truth. And usually, they will wake up out of the nightmare and love you more because you brought what was true.
So we're just all freaking human, doing the best we can. If somebody's done something that you think is unforgivable, rather than controlling that or pulling back love, try just bringing more love to the circumstance.
Here's the solution. Be a generous lover and it all gets solved. Someone who wants to give more love than they're trying to get back. Someone who doesn't measure, it's not a transaction. Someone who doesn't just get pissed because their needs are met.
Where we think there isn't love, there is always love. It's always present because it's our nature. We think we're not lovable. It's not. We just have to drop the mask and uproot what we're not so we can allow our nature just to be and express itself. And it's like we have an opportunity to be what I really believe we were all born to be, which is to love. And it's more beautiful than I can even convey. Love melts.
I mean, everything we're talking about right now, it comes back to me and you discuss everything. We communicate on every aspect. And so anyone listening, really, that's what it comes down to is it doesn't even matter what you're looking for in your relationship. You do you. But communicate that with your partner. If you want to, if it's a role thing, communicate. If it's a leadership thing, communicate. If it's I want to feel this way, communicate. Like me and you, every step of the way we communicate. So there's not that friction that I think so many couples have, where it's, am I supposed to be this and they're supposed to be that? And, just discussing those things has been game-changing.
What I have learned is love is not enough. Love is not enough for a long-term, committed, healthy relationship to fully work. And I think we've been told our whole life love is all you need. And it's just, for me, not true.
What else do you need?
Values, vision, and lifestyle, personally, from my experience. A wise ancient philosopher once said, a relationship without trust is like a relationship without gas in a car. You can stay in the car, but it'll go nowhere.
Relationships gotta be built on trust. If you ain't got trust, you ain't got nothing. Now, for the most part, men trust they women. Just for the most part. Now, it don't work that way the other way around. Women have been hurt over the years several times. They got a little problem with trusting and believing, especially if you've ever lied to them one time. Once you lie to them one time, everything you say after that, you lie.
So that's what, to me, a partnership is. Like, we've committed to being in a partnership together. So there is going to be 100% this crossover of relying on the other person, of needing the other person, on occasions to really be able to turn to them and know they've got your back, that when you fall on the floor, they are there to reach out a hand and pull you back up. To me, that is what a partnership is.
Because that's the thing that's missing from most relationships. There's no vision. Without a vision, in the Bible it says people what? Perish. And when a relationship has no vision for greater than where they are, that relationship is going downhill, if not destroyed. I believe that every relationship, every part of life, every part of a human being needs a compelling future. If the future's not more compelling than today could be tough, but if the future's compelling, we can get there. And that's what every leader does. And every one of you in this room, and I know some of you are here, I guess, from the general public as well, just for your own relationships, I really acknowledge you for. But I know that you're from the military here, I know the therapists here, people from all walks of life, you're all leaders. What's your job? To lead. Your job is to help people see it as it is, not worse than it is. What's your job? Help them create a compelling future. See it better than it is, so there's a reason to give my all again.